Yeah, well, we have been busy, and I guess that's why we just couldn't fit it in last time. And, you know, you've got to fit it in, and then we had this plan to do kind of like last Thursday of every month, but I guess that's just not going to happen every time. But here we are.
We'll find our way. Maybe one time we'll put out 2 in a month.
Maybe, hey. Nice. Yeah, when we're running out of our own podcasts, we'll just come together.
Yeah. We got plenty to chat about. Well,
lots to chat about today.
Do you want to catch me up on your last 7 weeks?
Yeah, wow. So it's a crazy time for me and Lou at the moment because we're moving out of London and we're going to Vietnam. And from Vietnam, we'll be heading to Thailand and going to a wedding in India. That's all before the new year.
That's bucket list for me.
Oh, man, yeah.
Indian wedding,
great
that's
opportunity.
huge.
Yeah, in New Delhi. So that'd be cool. But before then, it's just been, you know, moving out of our place. We've got some friends of ours renting it off us, so that's perfect. And then so that's all been like relatively stressful, I guess. And then I've been to the Pyrenees. So Lou and I took Cassie the van down the west coast of France, saw some friends in a place called Pau, which is badly pronounced, in the French Pyrenees, which was really nice. He's like my best mate. And so we went out there, had a few days with him. And then I went from Bilbao all the way across the Spanish Pyrenees in a convoy of 2 vans and 4 mates, 5 of us, which was epic, really epic. We do this trip like every year now. It's become a bit of a tradition where we sort of, the 5 of us come together and figure out sort of where we're going to go, usually what mountain range we're going to go. And this year we did the Spanish Pyrenees. And yeah, I mean, I could talk forever about that trip. That was epic. Yeah, and then drove all the way up from...
What did you love most about it? Like, what made it so epic?
You know, there's something special about 5 guys who are, you know, 5 30-year-old blokes all coming together and, you know, spending time in real friendship out in the middle of nowhere, or at least like in a different country, often in the mountains. Something special about that.
I think my dream.
Yeah, it is.
Just
it is
to be
awesome.
with my people, like a small, tight group of friends out in nature, that for me eclipses pretty much everything.
Yeah. We quite often, you know, we'll sit around a fire, sipping whiskey and chatting, and they're properly good guys. They're not, you know, they're not like lads. I don't really have any sort of laddie friends. We're all they're all very down to earth and real, and we're all kind of discussing just how grateful we are to have that, because I think a lot of people, but also a lot of men, just don't really have like close friends, like a group of friends like that.
Close friends, high quality friends, thinkers. Yeah, I find myself in the same situation in terms of, I think the group of my friends and the people I'm surrounded with is not normal in terms of, like, you guys are incredible people, but I know not everybody is so lucky to have that support network.
Yeah. And, you know, I want that for everyone. I think that everyone should have...
100%.
Everyone should seek out people who are like real ones, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And each one of those lads, I would say, you know, you're a real one. So we're very grateful to have each other and to have this trip. It is becoming a bit of a sacred trip. You know, every time we go on it, we're like, what are we doing next year? Highlight of the trip was certainly one moment. We did this hut-to-hut trek. And the day before, so there's 2 vans, Cassie, my little van, and then Lenny, which is like a big Peugeot Boxer that my mate Brim has. And we did a bit of logistics. So we went to, you know, we went to about 7k from the hut that we went from. And then we gave all the bags to 3 guys. So sort of 2 extra bags to these 3 guys. They hiked all of the stuff up to that hut. And Brim and I drove the 2 vans to the hut that we were going to, that we would finish at, which is about an hour and a half drive over the mountains to get to. This is like all in the evening as well.
Mm-hmm.
We dropped off Lenny, the big van, and then drove back with Cassie another hour and a half to where we dropped the guys off. And then Brim and I ran up to the hut, and we ran up as the sun set, so it was a bit of a night run. And then we got there finally to this first hut. And then the next day we did a 10K, sorry, a 10 hour. It ended up being 10 hours, but it was a 20K trek over the mountains, hut to hut. So it was a decent trek, but I think none of us sort of anticipated it would be quite as challenging as it was. Real mixed weather. So we had these storm systems coming over. We got absolutely soaked, and then an hour later we'd be dry, and then an hour later we'd be soaked. So we're on the side of the mountain. The trails as well were not trails. It was just, getting guided by cairns and sort of scrambling over massive rocks. So definitely challenging terrain, a lot of elevation, a lot of climbing. We got to the top, got to the summit, no views because it was just, clouded over. And then as we're going back down, we got to a point where we had to turn right, and we knew that it was a downhill, but we didn't anticipate that it would be like a sheer drop ledge, basically. And we were like, we are not going down there, surely. And we didn't have ropes, we didn't have anything, so we really had to band together as a team. Like 5 minutes before, we were like singing Flight of the Conchords and joking around, and then 5 minutes later we're like, right, let's get serious. Let's take off our bags, and we'll pass the bags down. So I went down first, and then took bags, and then like did a full like chain of bag passing. And a couple of the guys were less confident than the others, and so we were like really guiding each other down. And we safely got down this proper sheer drop 10-meter ridge, and then once we got down, we all felt like more bonded as a team.
I bet.
Real highlight, genuine highlight. Going in the mountains, feeling actually scared of this drop, and banding together and getting serious and realizing actually we're pretty good as a team. And then we got down. But yeah, epic day. Took 10 hours, got to the final hut, and the beer tasted sweet.
Hut to hut mission's the best.
It was great, man. Yeah, it was great.
That makes me happy just knowing you've been out there in the wild with your mates. That's the stuff.
Yeah, it was good. And we were, because we did that, and we hadn't had, on other trips, we'd just been on sort of regular hikes or whatever. We're looking to kind of step it up a bit. I think we're all very into the mountains, into like, I think as you approach your 20s, everyone kind of says goodbye to what you're doing in your 20s, and maybe sort of matures a bit and appreciates nature and the outdoors. Brim and I have been, in the mountains a bit more than the others, but I think we're all kind of keen to level it up a bit. And thinking of Norway next year maybe.
If you need a 6 member, count me in.
Yeah.
I love Norway.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Norway's going to be epic. Well, we're still wondering where to go. Either the Dolomites we haven't done yet. So yeah, man, that was cool. Got back, and then just this weekend went to see Lou's granny in Bremen. Very quick trip. So that was it's quite draining, just like, traveling quite a lot to go and do that. But I want to try and make sure we see people before we go. So yeah, and now back and just trying to get our ducks in a row and finish up.
Have you done any racing or events since going to America? Because I think that would have been our last episode.
No, and actually I am not planning on doing any for the rest of the year. I'm sort of, leaning back on running a bit. I mean, I want to maintain, and I want to get used to the humidity out in Asia, and just keep plodding along, but no racing.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair and quite exciting as well.
Yeah, I think there are some races that I'm getting distracted by, but yeah, it's been a big year. And I think like also it's quite easy for me to want to do these races, but then forget that we've got quite a lot on, and I'm trying trying to keep the business running and trying to do everything basically, and training for events is not necessary all the time. I think I can get sucked into thinking it is. But yeah, I have a habit of kind of overdoing it and doing too much. So I've kind of made a promise that I'm not going to do any for the rest of the year. But we'll see. I might break that promise.
I look forward to hearing how that goes.
What's your last 7 weeks look like then, man? Madeira, Switzerland, all sorts.
I was just thinking there was love trails as well.
Yes.
I didn't even put that in our message beforehand. So, yeah, I went love trails in Wales, and that was a way better experience than I thought it was going to be. And I also didn't really know what I was going in for, but Wales, I assume you've been to Wales.
I've been to Wales, yeah.
So beautiful.
Hey, some Englishmen have not, and it's a tragedy because it's a beautiful place.
Yeah, and I just was lucked out with amazing weather down in the Gower National Park. So I was blown away by like how beautiful it was, how lush it was, and all the trails. And then for me, it was epic just to have, like, I was there for work, and because of that, it's like I'm promoting things, but I was like, wow, this is such a captive audience in terms of anything that I talk about that has any kind of tie to running. People were really listening, and that was super cool. So I hosted my like 5 kilometer runs and poetry. Some days they had like 80 or 90 people show up at sunset, and then we'd write poems in the castle. And then other days it'd be like 5 people show up because the beer mile was on at the same time, and everybody, that's just the biggest magnet ever. But yeah, so that was awesome. And then it felt I'm not a festival goer. I've been to like one in my life, so I haven't been to like a multi-day festival or really know how it works. But the fact that you'd like jog to dinner, jog to a keynote, jog to a workshop, jog to a run, then jog back to your tent, then to the shower, then to like coffee with your friends. Like, it just felt like this little village of runners for 4 days. And that was so sick. Did a keynote, which is like the first time I've delivered a keynote in a long time. And
how was that?
I wrote out this like script, and then once I got off script and I was like, I podcast all the time. Like, I talk every week. I have themes on what I talk about. I'm like, just go and talk about that. And once I did that, I like relaxed. And then I guess the presenter or the guy on stage asked me some epic questions. And the Q&A, I think, really opened up a lot more value than my speech in some respect. And it was interesting because I can't remember what the question was, but started talking about seeing a psychologist. And then someone in the audience like asked this question, presuming that I was seeing a sports psychologist for running related things. And I was like, I don't see a sports psychologist. However, seeing a psych helps me with emotional tools to like move through life better, which inevitably take less stress or puts less stress on my running, or I carry less stress into my running, which then makes me a better runner. And to kind of like go into those, not necessarily more like vulnerable topics, but just like very matter of fact topics that I guess, I don't know, I don't really see that discussed so often in like a public back and forth forum, I think was like quite a cool experience for me and the people in the crowd. But yeah, I just met so many amazing people there. So that was really special.
That's awesome.
So yeah, went to Wales, then I went to Madeira, and for me, the idea of going to Madeira was basically just build my trail legs again, get some vert, go to a place. I think I've probably voice noted you and said it's like a very sacred, or it's like become a sacred place for me in terms of I've got some of my best mates there, like run Muet there a couple times. I have a lot of good friends at trail run, and it's just a place that makes me feel strong. And after a month of running there, that is how I left feeling. But
Nice.
what kind of came from Madeira as well. I love the like simplicity of just like get up, sit by the fig tree, watch this old Portuguese man tend to his cucumbers. I'd go for a swim. Like it really stripped everything back, which was nice because I think as well, you and I both at times are frustrated by the internet or the amount of like sheer noise that we're surrounded by. And it was nice to just like fully kind of pull the handbrake for a bit. But one day after my training session, I was like up in the mountains in Ekamyada, like near kind of the central part of the island, was coming down and there were these two hikers. And I was like, they're walking down a long, windy road. They're at the very top. It's nearly dark. I don't know where they're going. So I pulled over and I was like, hey, like, where are you guys going? And they were going to Sal Vicente, where I was. And then I said to them, I was like, well, there's nowhere to camp in Sal Vicente. So if you need a place to stay, like, you can stay in my cottage. So ended up hosting these like Austrian hikers for a night.
Wow,
dropping
amazing.
them. And they were hiking the entire Musette trail.
Right.
And then I left them at my cottage and went to my friend's cottage for dinner. And we were having dinner and he got a knock on the door. And it was these two Swiss hikers also hiking the Musette trail. And they're like, can we camp in your backyard? We don't know where to camp. And because of the fires on Madeira, people can't do it as they used to. So now, which means all the camping spots are like in weird places or don't exist.
Yeah.
So they stayed in my mate's yard. And then I said, well, when you get to the next point of the course, Sal Vicente, which you would have run along, it's that flat road bit. I was like, you can stay there with me. So then these Swiss hikers stayed with me for a few days. And they were in no rush to do the hike. So they went surfing. I made them big dinners and we just had a great time. Then they went and finished the Musette trail. They came back and I was like, you can just stay with me again. And then when I was booking my flights back to Oz, I looked up to go to Zurich and it was cheapest to return to Australia via Zurich. So I was like, I'll come and visit you guys in Switzerland. And then I had these
that's how it transpired. Wow.
Yeah. Then I had these 5 epic days in Switzerland. And then, 6 years ago, that's when I was last in Switzerland, attempting this trail called Hardergrat. And I dropped my camera bag off the side, smashed like all my cameras, had my passport, car keys, apartment keys, everything vital in there. So I had to get this bag, drop all my water like spilt. So I never got to finish this trail. And then it's just been this like thing where I'm like, at some stage I need to go back and like complete this thing. I don't have many things like that, but this was one of them. So then I was like, all right, I'm going to do this. Put out online to see if anybody wanted to join. No, I almost had one lead. And then I messaged a guy that I've been on like work calls with. He's from a running brand. And he was like, yep, I'll do it. And he drove from Germany to come and do this trail with me. And
no way.
Yeah, that was like the highlight of Switzerland, probably the highlight of my time away. And it's actually funny after hearing your story about being like in a precarious situation with like exposure and a drop off. This Hardergrat trail is like has a big exposure on both sides, but particularly like one section is like probably as wide as our laptops. And I just got really nervous all of a sudden and like really kind of lost trust in my legs. And I was like, oh. And he asked me if I was all right. And I just said, I was like, oh, dude, really, like I need to sit down. I'm really nervous. And then I said, I'm sorry. He's like, man, don't say sorry. Like I chose to be here. Like this is part of the journey. And then what he said to me was like, if you're scared, sing. And he's like, just sing the first song that like comes to your head or your favorite song. So I got up, took my poles out, started singing for the next 10 minutes and crossed this bit with like crazy exposure on either side. So
awesome.
Yeah, that was Switzerland. But man, inspiring place, inspiring trails.
so cool as well that like you're going to these places. I think a lot of people feel sort of intimidated to go to these places either alone, or they think they don't have friends in these places. And actually, if you live like you do, quite openly, and choose to pull over and say hi and invite people in, everything can change. You know, you can meet amazing people. You know, you put a note out online to see if anyone wants to do a trail with you. You reach out to people. You're inviting that connection, which is amazing.
100%. Yeah. I think it's important to give people an opportunity to like see that the world is good, or trust the world, or feel like some kind of joy from strangers, because I think there's less and less of that.
That's real shit. This podcast is only possible because, firstly, you're listening, but secondly, it's only viable thanks to Innovate. Innovate has been sponsoring this podcast now for some time, and they make some phenomenal pieces for your running, for your trail running, including all of their shoes, which they're so well known globally for, but also their rain jackets, their shorts, their tops, all of the new pro range. I love everything that Innovate is about and everything they do, and this is only made viable because they support the podcast, and I'm really grateful for them. If you want to go check them out, you can go to innovate.com. That's INOV and the number 8.com. If you like the look of any of their products, their shoes, for example, they've just released the Trail Flies, which are such a well-known shoe, but they've just released the Max version and the Zero version, the Zero Drop version. That's a version of the well-known Trail Flies that has either more cushioning, perhaps not as much as your traditional understanding of what max cushion might be, but very nimble, but with max cushioning. And then there's a Zero Drop as well. Go check them out, innovate.com. Use the code Runnable for 15% off. And I want to just say a thank you to Innovate for supporting the podcast. We can talk about it a bit more, because I would quite like to. Social media and the internet. We had a bit of a back and forth before this about how we don't have any single piece of content or anything we've seen online that has quote unquote triggered us, because we're both a bit annoyed by the internet in general, and it's more on, I think, probably more on us than the internet.
I don't think there's like an acute triggering so much this episode. It's more of just like a general inflammation.
The irony of two blokes who post content on the internet but have a disdain for it.
Yeah.
But maybe we should do our show and tell.
Great.
And then we can kind of I think my show and tell might fade into that discussion.
All right. Well, then going off that, we'll start with mine, and then yours can be the segue.
Yeah.
I'm super excited about this because this has been a product of the last 7 weeks, and something that I guess we've talked about through each episode. But I can finally show you a physical product for notes running.
What?
This is a prototype.
This
at
is
the
huge.
Moment. It is huge.
Can you step it back to Can you step it right back to kind of like the nucleus of this idea, and what is it, and what's this project? Give people the context, man.
Yeah. So I guess the like very nucleus of it was when I was living in the Blue Mountains in Australia. So like really mountainous, amazing, I think one of the best landscapes in Oz. And one of my housemates and I were just like, we love trail running, we love being outside, but we also love, I guess, fashion and garment, but within that, being able to express yourself through how you show up and style yourself. And we kind of had this like shared feeling that most of the trail running apparel that we see is of like the same cut, or there wasn't something. All right, now you have stuff like Satisfy or other brands, but it's like there's still not a like large variety of different things that trail runners can wear, or something that you could wear to the trail and then go out to dinner, dress up, dress down, or go into a commercial kind of office, dress up, dress down, and then move into something active. So that was like kind of where we started. And then throughout the last like 2 years, my like project and my poems, like A Note to the Runners, took off. Then all the like handwritten quotes have like gained a lot of traction and community and given me a lot of opportunities. So when naming and coming up with a name for a brand, we're like, well, notes make sense. And then you can have notes on everything, like strength notes. It's like if I did a collaboration with you, it'd be like Tommy's, like notes times Tommy, and it'd be like something strength related, or like nutrition notes, like the notes. Everybody has notes, like music notes, cooking notes, everything. So, and it all plays into like our experience as a runner. But yeah, basically want to like give people something that is like aesthetic but functional as well. And then I guess for me, it's like my two worlds and interests and loves are like running and writing. That's how A Note to the Runners started. That's kind of like my two vehicles of truth. And everything that I do is, or everything that I create or any product that I put out, it's like, how do I actually better the person that interacts with it? It's like, how do I make them think, even if I don't change the way that they think, and I don't need to, it's just like, how do I give them something that it's just like, I never thought of looking at it that way before, or never thought of doing it that way. So even with this podcast, it's like, I hope that anybody that listens, they leave and they're like, oh, well, yeah, I'll think about that today and just sit with that. So that's like, I guess, how I've always approached everything, even outside the brand. But yeah, then more specifically to the bag, I think we were quite inspired by like the quality of cycling product, apparel, garments, usually like such a high quality construction. And then as a traveler and a runner, I've always had bags, like everywhere. It's like camera bags, like duffel bags, suitcases, got a vest, got a belt, like I'm always carrying shit. And then we really liked the cyclist musette and was like, well, this is like a great bag and idea. And then from like a problem that I think runners face and something that like frustrates me is like, particularly now living in a city, I see people running with vests. I'm like, vests are great, but they're overkill in the city. It's like, you don't need 12 liters of capacity or all this like space, all this room on you. When you're just running 10K, there's water around. But then belts for me are like really clunky. Particularly it's like if I'm going for a run and then straight into a social situation, I don't necessarily want to carry this like very geeky running belt into another sphere. And so then we're like, well, let's come up with this like running musette where it's like something that can carry everything that you need. But as soon as you get to a cafe or a restaurant, you're like, oh, this is like a fashionable or aesthetic piece as well. And really kind of looking at running as this like utility and functional thing as well. It's like, I'll run to the post office, or I'll run to like catch up with someone or to pick something up. Like, yeah, there's running for fitness and mindfulness, but it's also like, it is a transport. And kind of looking like, yeah, I don't need a vest just to run around Melbourne. So yeah, that's what led to the bag. Now we've got the prototype of the bag.
Let's see it. It's nice, man.
So what I really wanted to have on it was this like netting, so you could run with like a jacket or something like another kind of piece of clothing. But the netting we're going to scrap doesn't really hold tension as we like. The front has like specific gel kind of holders for if when it's like very running specific, but then kind of life specific. And then inside it's like phone pouch, keys, little point and shoot camera kind of space. It's got a little one of my notes
Nice.
here. So yeah, aesthetically, like, and then the main like thing is that you put it on, and then it has an anchor strap that goes across, and that stops the like bouncing and rotation.
Yeah.
So like,
nice.
It actually doesn't bounce, which was the main thing that I wanted to solve.
Course.
But yeah, now we're just like fine tuning the like elastics, the colors, the material, the stitching. So yeah, I've been building a product.
Awesome, bro. I love it. Well, I just ran here from dropping the van off for its MOT. Could have done with some sort of bag. I was holding my phone.
Exactly the use case. And you would have looked like a G doing it as well.
Yeah. Exactly. Cool, man. It's probably
when you get to Vietnam, I have no doubt you'll be doing runs where you're just like picking up random things around the streets or like
Yeah.
Or you'll be running shirts off, but then you'll get to a cafe and you're like, it would probably be socially appropriate to wear a t-shirt. So you'll be in the back.
Nice. Well, congrats, man. This is a huge stage for Notes.
Yeah,
huge stage.
It really is. So we're getting there.
I love it. Well,
what do you got?
I really struggled to have it. I forgot, didn't I? And then I had to run off before we press record. But I haven't got much stuff. Like, I've got loads of my belongings are in a loft, in quote unquote storage. So I just have like what I'm going to be living with for however long. And I didn't want to kind of pick up just another, like, I didn't want to show a shoe or a pair of socks or like a running hat or something. I was really struggling to find something, but I have been reading this book recently.
The Way Home.
And it's called The Way Home.
Wow.
By an Irishman called Mark Boyle. Mark Boyle became relatively known as someone who lived without money for a year. So he lived very self-sufficiently.
Is this guy current?
Is
like
he
current as in like he's still living this
like
way?
He's still alive.
No,
I mean, he's definitely taken these projects into his life for sure. But this book is a book about him living without technology for a year.
Wow.
And you should read the book to understand kind of how he defines that and how far he goes with that, of course, because you could define many things as technology. If you really take it to the nth degree, you could say that any tool is technology, like an axe or whatever. But he doesn't define it like that. I mean, it's technology as you understand it. So he literally doesn't live with anything, like obviously no social media, obviously no internet, no refrigerator, no nothing. He's just living off the land, very basically. And the way he writes is amazing. And I guess from the get-go, like in the book, he also is talking about not just himself and this project, but he's talking about the community. So right from the start, he's talking about the local community, and you get to sort of know these characters in the local community, and it really is like a return back to how humans used to live in some capacity. And it's a very extreme approach, of course, but it's a great commentary on the advantages and pitfalls, mostly pitfalls, of technology. And I think the most interesting thing to me from the book so far has been that he doesn't know what time it is. So he doesn't have a watch. He doesn't have but he knows he sort of gathers what time it is because he knows the rhythm of what's going on about him. So he knows that like a neighbor always picks up his post at a certain time, or the post gets delivered at a certain time. So he can't escape the fact that time exists and people's schedules exist around him and stuff. But it's just a great reminder of how distant we are from the present moment and from connecting with our surroundings truly, and how distracted we are, and how time bound we are and stressed we are because of that, and also how simple life truly is, but we make it complicated. Like he's living like an exceptionally simple life, and you know, people will ask him like, how do you find the time to do this stuff or whatever, and he feels like he's got all the time in the world because he's not distracted by all the things we're so distracted by. He's not chasing, he's just living.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's been a great read so far. I think I started reading a different book on my Kindle more recently, and I should return back to this one. But I thought it was an interesting one to bring up because I don't think it's necessarily been the influence for my recent frustration. I think disdain is a strong word, but angst with social media and the internet and what I do. And I, you know, by this time, actually, this is coming out, it's Monday the 8th. This is coming out on Thursday, but I'm going to release a bit of a bonus episode of me sat by a fire and chatting about some things. But I felt the kind of pressure and pull of social media really affect me quite a lot recently. Social media for me is something that as a teenager I really didn't like. I sort of found part of my identity as someone who didn't have social media or didn't check social media and wasn't part of that. An indie kid, doesn't really like it kind of thing. Had a bad experience as a young teenager on it, and I think that probably contributed to me not liking it. And, you know, I think I kind of always had this, I think social media I've always thought social media is really vain. I have a different perspective now, but I've always thought it's really vain. It's really kind of like fake, and I still sort of think those things, but I think I struggle quite a lot with social media because for me, the internet and posting content online has provided me with so much freedom in my life and opportunity, like over the last 4 years, and I wouldn't be doing what I do now without it. And I find a huge amount of satisfaction from connecting with people. This podcast, for example, it is thanks to the internet that I'm able to speak about what I love and connect with so many people through this medium that I have fallen in love with over the last year. And I guess I've got this battle in my head, you know. I think I wanted to bring that up. I've got this kind of like this battle of two things. Like I love social media for what it can provide you, and I think everyone has an opportunity to create a life that they want by posting content on social media and connecting with people and authentically trying to create something. But I also think that as a consumer and as someone who naturally, you know, is consuming, because like if I go to post, I can find myself scrolling for 10 minutes without even realizing it. You know, you get captured by it. And I think it's very difficult to be disciplined and have balance with it. And you can get sucked into it, and it can subtly sort of just chip away at you. And I'm still trying to put my finger on what exactly it is, because, you know, we've obviously called out certain pieces of content on this podcast, and, you know, been triggered by them or whatever. But I think for me, sometimes it's not even content that annoys me or triggers me. It's just like a huge amount of content and information that I'm consuming too much of that really is truly impacting my appreciation for the present moment, for being focused on real life, you know. And how I see it is like we now do genuinely live in two dimensions. We have the online dimension where things are extremely polarizing, things are exaggerated, you don't get the full picture of things, and you have a huge amount of information about the globe and everything, and it's almost unnatural how much we know about what's happening around the world. And then you have real life, and real life is, you know, pulling over to invite two trekkers into your cottage in Madeira, and it's connecting with people, and, you know, spending a week with people you wouldn't have met a week before in Switzerland. It's like it's real life. It's the real world. And And I think those two experiences are very different. And it's very easy to get completely sucked into what you think is happening in the world because you're online too much. But the reality of what's happening in the world is much smaller. And I don't know if I'm really explaining myself much, and this is why I think I wanted to discuss it with you, because you have such a clear mind. I'm very up in my head about it all, and now obviously I'm coaching people online and promoting that coaching online. It's necessary for me to post. I wouldn't just sort of throw it all away. I've worked extremely hard posting very consistently over the last 4 years to get myself to a place where I can work self-employed in a space I adore. It's not that I'm, running away from it all, but I do think it's important for creators to talk about how hard it can be to be online all the time. And I posted recently about, it's not even a big deal, but just posting on Strava and having all my runs go up online to be seen by 11,000 people on Strava. And, it's just like, that's unnatural. That's not really a natural thing for humans to be doing. It's a crazy thing. And I don't think we talk about it in that way enough. We don't consider how crazy it is that everything we're doing is
so visible,
is seen, or so much of our life is visible, so much of our life is presented. And I've always been quite, earlier this year I was in Egypt, and I really was like, I don't want to be like an online influencer who shares everything about my life. If I go on a holiday, I don't want everyone to know I'm going on a holiday. That's my holiday. But at the same time, I want to connect with people, because messages and value is most effective when it's authentic. It comes from a person, and social media really works so well when you use it as a form, as a storytelling app. And there's just a lot of battle in my head with it all, and I want to provide value. I want it to resonate. I want it to connect, but I also don't want to get too pulled into it all. What? And I kind of miss, I guess I kind of miss the days where, life was simpler, and come over here, camera, and we didn't post everything, and didn't kind of have that invade everything. Does any of that make sense?
It all makes complete sense. My question back to you would be, in 3 or 6 months' time, and I imagine you'll be in, Vietnam then?
3 or 6 months. I mean, we're moving around a lot, so
okay.
Who knows?
Generally, like in 3 to 6 months' time, like when you get up in the morning, what do you want to feel? Like if there was a feeling that like you could embody throughout your day, whether it was like calm or excited or confident or strong, like what would it be?
I think we all chase many things, whether it's chasing money or chasing success or status or whatever, but I think the end goal is always peace, right? We always want to feel at peace in some capacity. And I think I'm so much better at that now than I used to be. I used to be much more of a stress pot internally. I am now a lot better at laughing through the stress, although sometimes it gets too much, and being light. But I think I want to feel light. I want to feel at peace. I want to feel like I'm making progress. I think progress is super important. It doesn't even, to me, it doesn't even matter, how much money I'm making, or whether I'm being successful, or whether I'm seen to be. Like, to me, what's more important is that I feel like I'm making progress. Because there is no finish line, really. We're never satisfied with where we're at. We're always striving to get to somewhere else. So it's sort of balancing a contentment with now and an excitement for the future.
Definitely. I really like your answer of light, though, of feeling light, because I think like the way the world is and the opportunities that we've made for ourselves, and it's like we've all got to make a living somehow. And then it's like we've chosen social media as one of our avenues of doing that. And then obviously we engage with it a lot, but I think then it's kind of gearing all the decisions to around, like say for you, it's like, well, do the people that I follow and what they post, do they bring this feeling of lightness? Do the races that I enter, does that make me feel light? Do the trips I go on with my friends make me feel like, I imagine you probably felt light when you're with your friends. And then and this is kind of like what I talked about in Wales. It's just like all these kind of like little decisions. It's like, does it move me towards feeling light or away from it? And if it moves you away from it, then it's like slowly kind of cutting these things out or saying no to them more often. Because some stuff, it's like you might like have to see a family member that might not make you feel that light, or like to me it's like, well, I got to have a meeting with a client and it doesn't make me feel light, but then it's like, well, okay, in the future do I need to have like better boundaries for the clients that I work with, or be clearer? Or, but I think it's like we're going to keep doing this stuff, so then it's like, what is it? What things daily kind of move us that way, or whatever the feeling is.
Yeah. And I think, you know, I was thinking a lot about this yesterday when I was flying back from Bremen. So a lot of time on my hands, I did a bit of writing on the plane naturally, and I think like we're endlessly like chasing contentment and happiness and feeling light and all these good things, but the reality of life is that we're not going to always feel like that, you know. And actually, sometimes it's good to have pressure. Sometimes it's good to feel an element of urgency for something and a need to be productive.
Like, or flat or down. Like I think
yeah. And I think one thing that's just really important. Sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, like, if you don't kind of allow yourself to feel all the things, or like pretend to, like, I think that's also a trap of social media and even off social media, just kind of not acknowledging like what you truly feel, trying to present another way.
Yeah. And I think,
there you go.
Well, similarly, I think that one of the things that's really difficult for a lot of people, and myself included, is being okay with this current state you're in, and not feeling like you need to change this current state you're in. I think like a lot of people that turn to stimulants of any kind need to feel different to how they feel now. You know, it might not even be that they feel like exceptionally uncomfortable right now. It's just that they're not okay with this. And I think one of the problems with social media is it's very stimulating, and it makes you think that everyone else's lives or everything else that's going on behind the edit is exciting or is interesting or is active and is like fast and captivating. But the reality of the majority of your life is that it's pretty mundane. It's pretty the majority of your conscious experience is not elated, and it's not like an elevated feeling of excitement or you know, I think we have this idea that we should be striving for a more consistent feeling of whatever that sort of spike is. So like you always feeling excited, or always having amazing times, and always feeling, or even just always feeling at peace. But in reality, life isn't like that. Life is, you know, you will have suffering. Constant. Yeah, it's a very Buddhist idea, really, is that like if you're not okay with the vast majority of your conscious experience, which consists of pretty boring, mundane feelings of sobriety, then you're going to struggle, or you're going to constantly seek out more. And I think social media only contributes to that, is my point, I think. Social media, for me, as someone who creates on social media and also consumes social media, I think it's something that distracts from the present moment. And the less I use social media, or the less I consume it, the better off I am. And it's the same as, like, you know, the more I meditate, the more I have like a consistent practice of meditation in the morning, the better off I am, because I'm practicing this acceptance of the present moment, or whatever. Even like, and running doesn't do that for me in the same way that meditation does. Like, running helps me process thoughts, and people call running their meditation. That's fine. It's a great thing. Running helps me process thoughts, but I've still got a racing mind. Still got thoughts like rushing through my head. Even this morning I went for a run and it's beautiful out, and I've got thoughts rushing through my head, and I'm thinking to myself, just be present, just like try and soak it in, focus on your breath as you run. But then, you know, it's still invading. And it wasn't until I stopped halfway through my run and sat on some logs and actually just like stopped and just kind of existed, that I started to calm down. No point there. Just the fact that, like,
I really like that as a point. It's like running is a place to process. I really agree with that. It actually made me think of something though that I have done that was quite interesting. Was I got a running lesson. Like, I've been running for 13 years. And I've never had a running lesson or any kind of, I guess, intentional coaching or formal coaching. And it was this guy, Paul, the balance runner, and we met 6 years ago at an event, and we've been mates, and I've known of his work, followed his work. He's left me comments on my stories, like, I'll be doing a session and he'll reply and be like, you know, you land differently on your left foot from your right foot. And it just like live rent free in my head for the next like 6 months. But when I came back from overseas, I just like booked into the doc, booked into the psych, booked into dentist, like just did all this stuff. And I was like, what's one thing I've been putting off? And it's like, get a running lesson. So I knew that my like arm swing needed work, like my foot, everything. But the point that I wanted to make was, he's like, a lot of people say that running is a meditation. And he's like, typically like meditation is about breath and running, but he's like, running is a movement. So if the movement is the meditation, people need something to focus on. So people, and then this was the point that I liked, he's like, people just take a stab in the dark of like what to focus on with their movement. Like, oh, like swing your arms, but you're like, we're not ever taught how to swing or why we should be swinging them in a certain direction, or like do something with your, like lift your legs higher, but it's like, why are you doing that? Or chop your stride, like whatever it might be. Like, we've all kind of like picked up these things off the internet or various places. But yeah, I have my own specific cues, because I was like very tense in my shoulders, so I need to like disengage to then like relax. I had this like one arm that kind of had this like stirring motion. But for me, it's like, as he described it, he's like, running is like a lot of vertical velocity. He's like, once you take off, you've like activated your kind of horizontal and you stay with that momentum. But then it's like all about driving up and being off the ground. So for me, it was like up, 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 and like staying relaxed, swinging my elbows and kind of coming up. And it's been interesting the last like few, like on my sessions particularly, I think when I'm trying to like move at speed and with like force, it's easy to let go of stuff when you're really pushing. But my sessions have like almost gone quicker, or kind of forgotten about Ks, because I've come back to this like mantra of my cues. And it has actually turned running into this like more meditative thing because I have a specific focus for my body, which has made me like feel more into my body, lean more into my body and how it's feeling. And even the way that he taught my like new form, I didn't look at any photos or any videos. He's like, you need to be able to understand it within your body, your old way and the new way, and actually feel it. So he'd get me to run out, and he's like, just focus on like what you think your shoulders are doing. And I was like, well, feels like my left one drops down and my right one is like going back. And he's like, well, how is that? You're trying to move forward, but you've got a shoulder that's like going back, for instance. But yeah, that's my tangent on running meditations. And I think it's a really interesting thing for people to consider, like who taught you to run, and then actually look, like we do it so much, like why wouldn't we try and improve our form?
Well, I think the reason that's so powerful is because it's bringing you back to this present moment you're in. You know, how is your body moving right now? And you have to focus in order to really kind of adjust or at least pay attention to how your body's moving. You have to focus in on that. And in doing so, because you can't think of two things at the same time, you're switching from thinking about some email you need to send or you just received or whatever.
Yeah, or even just your times, just to
or something related. Yeah. And I think I think that I'm not saying anything groundbreaking, I guess, that social media is a distraction and it takes you away from the present moment and blah blah blah. There's nothing groundbreaking in that, but it's so easy to slip into this kind of habitual overusage of social media, especially if you're working from home and you're picking up your phone and you're not being disciplined about it. And I don't know what everyone else's feed is like, but mine tends to be, outside of my other interests, it tends to be quite a lot of fitness stuff nowadays. And so that really kind of
doesn't help.
Yeah. Because I'm just not that into it. I'm not into most other fitness stuff. Like, I saw something someone posted on Threads the other day that was like, I'm going to butcher it, but it was something along the lines of like, if you can't find the thing you're looking for, be the thing you're looking for, or something like that, you know. And that's sort of how I felt with running in the fitness space. Like, I couldn't really find any fitness stuff, or at least the majority of fitness stuff out there just did not resonate with me. But I always knew I was into strength training and running, but none of it really resonated with me. And I wanted to and I thought, I'm not special. I'm sure there's loads of people like me who hate the kind of city runners or the run club vibes or the, like, you know, macho strength training stuff. Like, I didn't want to, I wanted to be the opposite of that. And so I sort of started posting in what I thought was like an authentic way, and to kind of stand against that almost. But I always get like sucked into a lot of the social media noise. It's just noisy, man. It's just noisy. I think it would do everyone a favour to kind of have a day off. And actually, a while ago, I sort of promised Lou that I would take Sundays off. But then I started like doing Monday intakes for my coaching, and then so Sunday is like a day where I've got to prep for that. But I think it's good to have at least one day off a week from all tech, really. All
tech, and then in some ways work as well.
And work, for sure.
That's a good reminder coming to Europe. It's just like, I come back to Australia and like, damn, everybody grinds so freaking hard all the time.
Yeah, it's mad, bro. And we always forget, like, when we're in Europe on a Sunday, like, everything's shut.
Yeah.
And I sort of love it. But also, like, if you forget, you're like, I haven't got anything in the fridge, man. I need to go to the supermarket.
Truly.
Yeah. Well, there's a tangent then. little ramble on social media. I'm actually excited to see if you listen to what will be the last episode. It's sort of sat by a fire, and I'm just talking about this kind of honest truth of mine. Out? I'm gonna release it like tomorrow, I think.
Great, I'm looking forward to it.
So 2 days ago, if as in
yeah,
this will be out on Thursday. I'll probably throw it out on Tuesday because it's just a bit of a kind of bonus episode. But it's about my. It's a strange thing, really, being present on social media and trying to like post and obviously trying to make my post successful in some capacity. And then, you know, over the last sort of 2 or 3 years, I have achieved that to some degree. Like I've managed to grow an audience on Instagram and TikTok. I've managed to get a lot of traction on a few of these videos, and it's been great. Obviously, it's been amazing, and all of the, you know, that means I've received a lot of praise, an unhealthy amount of praise, and some might say, you know, an undeserved amount of praise, you know, for what I'm doing. Ultimately, it's just running content and, you know, and sort of mindset stuff. And it's been great, but it also, when that slows down, as it has done, naturally, as a fickle human, it starts feeling. You start feeling like you're craving that again, that dopamine and that reach and that like feeling of relevance, even.
Yeah, and
which
growth.
Sounds ridiculous. Yeah, and I think like I've just noticed that in myself, and it was very liberating to notice that. I kind of like had this realization, I think, in the mountains, and I was sort of just like, I think I'm chasing the wrong things right now. Like, if I'm being really honest with myself, I am valuing myself and my self-worth based on how well things are doing on social media or how well business is going. And that is not okay. I always tell other people not to do that, and then here I am doing it myself, you know.
We're all just walking contradictions.
Yeah, for sure.
running contradictions.
And it's the same for running, and I guess like the podcast is sort of more about like running for recognition.
But I like really believe though, it's like you say stuff like not deserving but you are making people stronger. You are giving people cues and actually helping people to run and to do something that puts them out in nature. So I think as like a byproduct of your work, you actually are making a big difference. So also don't be too self-critical.
Yeah, I guess my point really more is that these days, with the power of the internet and social media, you can get an unbelievable amount of attention for like one video, for example.
Oh, it's insane.
I guess what I'm saying is like the potential for reach and recognition now is unbelievable. Like 30 years ago, it was not easy to get the amount of eyeballs that you can currently get on your shit. Like, it just wasn't that easy. Now you can have someone in a year's time frame go from no one knowing who you are to a ton of people in the space that you're operating in knowing who you are. Like, it's an unbelievable thing. And I think that does genuinely come with risks, like mental health risks, in the sense that you need to be careful not to chase that. And the same goes for like your running. You can achieve something really great in your running and have, just on a small scale, loads of people say, oh, you know, that's awesome, that's great, and all this. And then you can just fall into the trap of constantly trying to chase that recognition rather than doing it for the right reasons. You know, if you go and...
It's a really interesting conversation, this one.
Like if you... yeah. If you go... Good, I'm glad, because it's messy in my head. Like if you go and get a sub-3 marathon, for example, then, you know, you get all this recognition, and that's great. But then the risk then is that your running journey from then is this endless pursuit of that same recognition. And then all of a sudden, instead of running for, you know, the right reasons and running for good reasons for you, you're then running for recognition. And you need to, I think we all should question ourselves, question what we're doing these things for, whether we are pursuing these things for the right reasons, and just stop and check in.
This is, I think, one of the greatest tests of character, though, not on an external level, but against yourself, is if you know what you want to feel and you then get a result, like a externally positive result that is in kind of misalignment with what you want to feel, you get all this external feedback, so it keeps you in the loop. But it's like, can you get a externally positive result but pull yourself back and be like, this isn't what I want to feel? And I think, just to give a like more objective example, is that going into races, if you get as you said, you land on a podium, you get a time or whatever, it kind of pulls you in to be like, oh, I'm going to keep going back because I get all this feedback from people, I get all these accolades, I get all this dopamine, so you keep going back again. But it's like, if you weren't in that loop, what are you actually like running for? What do you actually like want to feel? Whereas like when you don't get the result and you feel pretty shitty, and then you realize like, well, yeah, I just wasted all this time running for a time or something. And then you're like, when you don't get the result, it's a lot easier to see what you value, because you like, it comes crashing down on you a lot clearer in sometimes. But when you get this like external validation, it's easy to be like, oh no, like doesn't really matter because everybody else says it's good.
Yeah.
And this was like the conversation that I was having with my friend today. It's like professional athletes or people that are like racing a lot. And particularly athletes that are racing a lot or like kind of garner a lot of traction on social media or have this like audience. It's like, well, you keep racing, you keep doing big distances, great times, podiums, whatever else. It's like, it's a bit of a trap because you keep coming back. Whereas it's like one of my friends just went to UTMB, didn't have the result that he wanted, but whilst he was over there, he's like, I actually just enjoy running at home way more. But if he had got the time or the position that he was like hoping for, would have he acknowledged that? He maybe would have just been like, oh, Chamonix is awesome, like let me have a crack at the next race as soon as I can. And then you're like, all of a sudden you've now like 2 races in a row out of alignment because you're picking a race for a time, a podium or validation rather than what's true.
What's required is a constant checking in with yourself about your true motivations for what you're doing. Whether that's in your career or
but if you're
running.
Performing well and you know what your true motivations are, they can be at odds.
Well, you know what that makes me think of? Tom Evans.
Makes me think of Ash Barty.
It makes me think of Tom Evans because
I'm really curious where you're, because we wrote this down as a segment. This is dedicated to Tom.
Yeah, we I'm a big fan. I've been a big fan of Tom Evans for a while. He's ex-military, he's a Brit, and he's obviously an exceptional athlete. You know, he's been to UTMB a few times and not got the result he wanted, and he's come back, and he, if you've been under a trail running rock, then you would have missed that he just won UTMB. And in an interview, he said that one of the reasons it went well for him, he thinks, is that he wanted it less. You know, he's just this year become a husband and a dad, and he's just got bigger, better, more important priorities. And I think, you know, previous to this year, of course, there's loads of factors contributing to his amazing performance this year, but previous to this year, he, really wanted it, and he had a lot of pressure. He was applying a lot of pressure on himself, and, you know, that meant that it impacted his performance. So interestingly enough, you know, if we're talking about being light, if we're talking about being at peace a little bit more, and, you know, having more perspective, that, you know, a good performance and all that sort of stuff can actually be a byproduct of being a little bit lighter and
definitely
having a bit more fun and smiling through it. And, you know, I think I talk quite a lot about it. You know, I think my most successful podcast release to date is a podcast about taking it all too seriously. You know, I think people want to hear from, you know, we and this is one of the things that frustrates me about social media. Is a lot of my social media as a 30-year-old male into sport, the algorithms think I want all this serious stuff, I think, and it's like lock in, get serious, you know, all this. I don't want that. You know, I'm too inclined to be like that. What I need is lighthearted, taking it less seriously kind of stuff, because that's the stuff that's really helped me, is checking in with myself, recognizing when I'm taking it too seriously, when I'm taking myself too seriously, because that's not positively contributing to my enjoyment for the sport and for the whole pursuit. I do this for such bigger reasons than just performance, and I know that so many people listening right now do it for so many more reasons than just doing well in it. And I think, funnily enough, it'll do you a favor to be a bit lighter about it. Want it less. Chill out.
Yeah. Makes me wonder at the end of the year just how to go into a race and like be present, give a great effort, but also want it less. I think it's like you just be present and you get what you get.
Well, also interestingly, you know, with your form analysis, you were too stiff. You needed to relax. So many coaches out there talk about, you know, the elite coaches always talk about relaxing. You know, running, you have these like athletes running at ridiculous paces, at 5K or 10K or whatever, or even, you know, the marathon. They're running at incredibly fast paces for a long time, and you know, if I tried to run at that pace, I'd be so stiff, I'd be sprinting, you know. But they're just relaxed, they're coasting, they're chill. I think there is something metaphorically deep about that we can apply to life. I think that we
couldn't agree more.
We don't want to be stressing through our life to achieve what we want to achieve. We want to achieve those things, but we want to do it in a calm, unstressful manner, right? That's what I'm striving for, as someone who wants a lot, who wants to be successful, who wants to achieve a lot, who wants these things. But I don't, you know, at what cost? I don't want to do that stressing through it. I know some people who are exceptionally wealthy, you know, successful in financial terms, who are sitting on 7 figures, and they are the least content people I know. And you know, that's very cliche to say. I genuinely know people who are very upset with their lives. They stress a lot. They're constantly chasing. they've got loads of money, but I don't look up to them in any way because they're extremely unhappy. Whereas I've also lived with people in a township in South Africa, or been in the presence and helped people out in rural communities in Peru who have very little, but are absolutely at peace. Their inner world is far more attractive,
a lot quieter
than those who have a lot materially. They're two separate things. This is what I was writing on the plane. We, the overused, well-known phrase, money doesn't buy you happiness. It sounds too cliche and almost trite at this point. But if you actually think about it, it's one of the most ingenious phrases because it doesn't buy you happiness because they're on a different map. Money and happiness are on two different maps. They're different things. And you can achieve money whilst not achieving happiness. And you can achieve happiness and contentment whilst not achieving money. You can, obviously, I also know people who are very successful who seem really content with their lives. You can do both. That is the ultimate aim, I think. Like, money can get you freedom. It can get you, I know what it feels like to look into an empty fridge and consider not going out and buying food and sleeping instead so that I extend my budget to another day. I know what it feels like to be completely broke, and it sucks. I'd rather do life not broke. But my contentment is separate from that. My happiness is separate from these goals we chase, whether it's money or whatever else. I guess that's the point I'm making.
Strong point. I think if there was a link that tied happiness and money, it would almost just be this link of energy. And I think again, it's everything is this energetic exchange. And you think about your energy when you're in nature, or you think about money can make you happy, but again, it's the intention in which you what you do with it. And one of the things that I screenshotted this week, and I've in the last month just been around some people that have financially they're sorted. But this one was survival, make enough to not die, money as master. Success, make enough to matter, money as a scorecard. Sacred, make enough to authentically create, money as energy. And some of the people even that I was around on the weekend, it's just they have so much, but then it's and even big businesses that I admire, it's they're just leaning so much into collaboration or authentically creating. It's they're not gatekeeping, they're not exchanging in ways that are trying to take from people. It's I think when you come at it from an energetic exchange, that's where it can be, the two can kind of merge a bit, because it's if you're using your money to lift others up and create things of value, then it's well, you'll probably also find happiness again because of the purpose behind it. But I think without purpose, you probably won't be happy, and whether you make a lot of money or not. Or without purpose, again, if you go throughout your day, I think even in really simple towns and villages and parts of the world, it's in Portugal, the man got up every day to attend to his cucumbers, wasn't making money from those cucumbers, but he had a purpose. And then I think again, to bring that back to running, it's what is the purpose that you want to race with or for? Like what's the purpose you're signing up for, like big events or big challenges or going after certain times? Like what is the purpose of that for the individual?
And it doesn't have to be deep. It can be that you want to go and have fun.
Yeah.
But make sure that you keep that.
Yeah.
Make sure that is the priority. P1.
Yeah.
Good, man. Well, I think this has been a good chat. I'm grateful for you, bro.
Likewise, man. I wrote a note tonight just for my own notes that I put out, but I was like, listening to voice notes from friends whilst running is the best. And I can physically like feel and visibly remember where I was on the trail the other day, just listening to your like update come through. And I was like, this is so sweet. So, appreciate you, dude.
Yeah, man. Cool. I'd agree. Voice notes whilst you're running. Solid.
Sweet.
Well, thanks for listening.
Thanks for
as
being
always.
part of our journey.
Sorry for the wait. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you were with us. I hope you're gracious for my messy mind at the moment. And
it's real.
Yeah, engage with the podcast as you see fit. Rate it, comment on it. If anything has resonated with you, comment, join the conversation. We love seeing the comments come through, whether you're watching on YouTube or you can
send us a DM. Tommy's follows you guys. Guys, girls are great at sending really lovely messages. I appreciate them. So
until next time. Thanks, brother.
Thank you.